I'm going to tell you the story of my extraordinary revival. And then I hope that together we can redefine the TED Talk phenomenon with a creative experiment. So, prepare to be revived. To set the scene, we have a luscious, verdant landscape. This was my idyllic childhood. I was a happy-go-lucky child and very successful. I loved riding ponies. I would win lots of prizes. As a teenager, I was a jockey. It was my dream and ambition to be the first lady to win the Grand National. I was diligent and determined. But one day, on April the 15th in the year 2000, I was galloping a racehorse called Paul, and he fell over. I landed on my head. Kaput. I was unresponsive, dead. My father rushed over, and he gave me mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, breathed life into me. I was airlifted to hospital, taken to A&E, in a coma, dead or alive. Now, I don't know if this actually happened, because I don't remember this or most of my life. I had severe brain damage. Now, this picture was taken 18 years after the brain injury happened, and there is still damage on my brain. I will always have a damaged brain, but I'm alive, and I'm happy. Eventually. So there I was, lying in bed. I eventually awoke from my coma with no memory, knowledge, or concept of who I was. Who am I? Now, this is something that we all ask ourselves at times in our life. But I awoke from my coma with total amnesia. I lost everything. The injured brain became an injured mind, as my mind reacted to my catastrophic situation, the annihilation of identity. I developed a psychotic illness. I had a man standing behind me who I called Darkness Clings, and he screamed commands at me, telling me I should die. I felt creepy crawlies sucking blood from my skin on my arms. I heard objects weeping. The doctors and everyone around me said, "Oh, it's not real, don't be silly." The term was I was responding to stimuli. I was given so many labels and diagnoses during this time. Emotionally unstable, personality disorder, schizophrenia, anorexia nervosa, organic psychosis F06.9 undefined. What does that even mean? You can imagine how this made me feel. They attached labels to me, but nothing helped. I was locked away in psychiatric institutions across England and France for 20 years. This picture was taken outside the window of one of the rooms I was withheld within. It was the fumes of chemical burnt debris, as if my own identity was also burnt debris. I was a revolving door patient, so I would be admitted to hospital because I was so ill. Then eventually I would be discharged, but because I was no more well, I would relapse or get even worse and then be readmitted. I did not know what life was. It was unachievable, unattainable. This is a picture of one of my cells, as I would call it, on a ward. NB, don't worry, they weren't as big as that. It would have been nice if they'd been as big as that. But I would compulsively create. So you see in this picture, I am lying on the floor, pored over a piece of paper, avidly painting, writing, scribbling, using my creativity as a sanctuary. I was silenced by my misery, but my art and creativity gave me a voice. It enabled me to express what was inexpressible. The nursing team and the doctors ignored this, most of all. This is an example of one of the pieces I created. I was in a dark phase, lost, broken, desperate. I expressed this with watercolor paint and gouache paint on pieces of paper. One day, I was in my room, avidly drawing this particular piece. I could feel barbed wire sensations, tactile hallucinations. It was as though I was being asphyxiated. I felt near to death. A doctor was walking down the corridor, and he looked through my door and said, "Hi there, Lorna, how are you?" And I couldn't speak, so I just pointed it to my picture. He looked at it, took an inward breath, and said, "I see you." And the doctor then diagnosed my illness by looking directly at this picture. He said I had schizoaffective disorder, and by that he meant I had hallucinations. I was having experiences that other people don't. I was paranoid, I had delusions, and I also had a mood disorder. I was depressed. So the doctor used my art and my creativity as a tool to diagnose and then medicate and then treat me. This was a massive, huge moment in my recovery. The doctors by now realized that I was onto a good thing with my art and my painting. They put it on my list of medications, art as medicine. Later on in my journey, I continued to create. Paintings enabled me to somehow survive despite all the trauma I was experiencing and re-experiencing during my treatment. Painting and writing grounded me. Changing the scene, 15, 16 years later, I was admitted to a hospital in Oxford. Here I found the Oxford model, where they used my creativity and my art as part of the structure of my care. So creativity became an approach to my revival, to my recovery. This picture is an open book. It's the first time I'm able to express and begin to process some of the trauma I have experienced. You see on the right a butterfly. The butterfly is my symbol of hope. I could move from the cumbersome caterpillar to the cramped cocoon, to the colourful being with wings who can fly wherever she wishes. Now I hope you think it's a nice story, but how does it relate to you? You might be thinking, I imagine, I'm not an artist, I can't paint, and I'm not crazy. Yes. I want to examine today how we can test out these ideas and these practices to see how they relate to everyone. I am saying that we are all artists. I am saying that it is our innate essence to revive ourselves through our creativity, because creativity draws the structure of humanity. I examined this during my PhD at Cambridge, which I managed to fulfill and complete despite and during my struggles. I used theories from phenomenology, post-structuralism, and psychoanalysis, as well as a lot of empathy, to examine how and why art making and creativity can help us make sense of ourselves and the world. Now, the effect and impact that art had had on my own recovery was the crux of my thesis. I had to recover in order to prove my thesis and to gain my PhD, which eventually I did. So I'm saying now that we should test these ideas out, okay? I'm proposing that we do a little experiment. For the people at home, and for you here, this slide has loads of ideas and suggestions for how we can be creative at any point in the day, wherever you are. But here in the theatre, I think we need some specific examples to be creative together. So, will someone start raising a beat? I want to get mobile. Let's be mobile, let's make noise, and let's shake up the auditorium. Yeah, that's it. I want you to get up. I'm shaking up the TED Talk phenomenon with you. I want you to be creative together. You can start dancing if you wish, or a Mexican wave. Should we do a Mexican wave? Yeah. This is our revival. It's the end of the day. You might need some energy. Let's celebrate ourselves. Okay, I think we could continue this, and maybe we shall later. Thank you so much. Now, what's important now is to reflect on that micro boom that we just had, that energy we made in this space, and what you can do later at home. Suggestions: play music, write music, design, invent, tell a joke, scribble. Because art making and being creative is not just about making a masterpiece like Da Vinci or Picasso. It's not about grading ability. It's not about being the best or being better than someone else. Art is the antithesis of judgment. Creativity opens new pathways in the brain. So there is space where there was none. I know that for me, I've had many struggles in my life, but we all have struggles. We all have different struggles. Art and creativity helps us approach, iterate, and change our struggles. And I am hoping that in this small experiment that we've had here, using my example and using the energy we have created and that can be created, you will continue this experiment at home. Because with curiosity, compassion, and creativity, you will access your own revival. Thank you.